Hello friends, good afternoon and welcome to EduSat Live Lectures. Dear friends, today in modern Indian history, we will be talking about Indian National Army and left-wing movements in pre-independent India. To discuss this topic, we have with us our subject expert, Dr. Dheeraj Kumar. Dr. Kumar is Assistant Professor, Department of History in Crorimal College, University of Delhi. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Sir to our studios and request him to start the lecture. Welcome, Sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, viewers. And in context of the Indian National Army, it is a very extraordinary event in context of the Indian independence movement. And we see the very background of this Indian National Army is in context of unilaterally engaging India in the Second World War by the British government, and in that context there was the leaders within Congress have been on the horns of dilemma whether we should support it or we should have our own stand. And in that context we see that how Subhash Chandra Bose and Mahatma Gandhi both have different kind of opinions, and so in this context we see that there was dichotomy, and although Subhash Bose wanted to have a mass civil disobedience and not to cooperate with the government, and because all the aspirations of the Indian people of responsible government has not been met. So in that context, this was the situation in which we see that how another step, another kind of inclination has come in Indian independence movement. So in that context, we also see that with the Tripuri Congress and with the Congress Working Committee not cooperating with Subhash, and in that context, we see that how he have to escape from his because he was being put in house arrest, and after that what happened that he have to he had to escape from India, and he from Afghanistan to Russia he had to go through this route, and he has taken too much of extraordinary effort in that context, and how he has tried to pursue his own agenda, that if at that time the imperialist government, the British government is being weak, and this is the right moment to strike a deal and to make them oust from India. So in that context he has gone through escapade, and in that way he has done an extraordinary job in that way. And in that context we also see that how after that in Berlin, when he met the Chancellor Hitler, and because he was against the Britishers and he was fighting against the Allied power, in that way he has opted for visiting Berlin, and in that way in January 1941 he was there, and he wanted to have assurance from Hitler that he will help in the cause of Indian independence, but he didn't get any kind of assurance in that sense, and so he didn't he was only being entertained in context of having announcement on Berlin radio and to have speeches in favor of Indian independence, but he was not at all assured about the kind of step that will be taken in context of Indian independence. So he had no options, but he has formed Indian Legion there, and through that he was trying to have propagation of the Indian independence mission, and in that way we also find that after that we are also finding that in that context what has happened, that in Southeast Asian context, the Second World War has another kind of situation in which we are finding that Japanese army have done a phenomenal job, and they were in a phase in which the Britishers were in Southeast Asian context, the Japanese hold was increasing day by day. So in that way that was there, and we see that in this region already Indian Independent League, which was being organized by Ras Bihari Bose in Japan, and he was a renowned revolutionary of India, and he was working for the cause of Indian independence in that area. And in that context, the presence of Ras Bihari Bose. On the other hand, we see that in Malaya, that in December 1941, with the defeat of the Indian army in that region, and the prisoners of war which were being there. In that context, the role of Captain Mohan Singh came into picture, that he as a person has shown his interest, and he has through because the Japanese government also was in favor of having such type of person who could recruit the Indians, who could have a brigade, Indian brigade, and which can assist them and which can go for the cause of Indian independence, so that in that way they will be much more benefited. And Captain Mohan Singh took this arduous task, and at that time there were around 40,000 prisoners of war in that in Malaya, Singapore, and he was being given the task, but in between some differences also occurred, because Japanese government only wanted to have 2,000 soldiers, but he has recruited 20,000 people for that very purpose, and in that context this kind of arrest was of Captain Mohan Singh also happened. But again we see that there was some reconciliation, and then again the process started, and in that context we see with the capture of Singapore in February 1945, and with that we also finding that there was a conference which held in Tokyo to discuss the Indian situation, and in that context also some other important event took place. In that context we see the Bangkok conference, which is one of the remarkable beginning in that context, which give or extended the invitation to Subhas for the purpose of taking the leadership in this zone, and by that time he has not reached Japan, and in that context we see on 1st of September 1942 the formally the leadership under the leadership of Captain Mohan Singh, INA was being inaugurated, and this has a role, independent role on the question of independent role of Indian National Army. There was a difference with the Japanese government, and in that context this difference has been in context of that whether the Indians will have free hand or whether they will be only assisting to the Japanese cause. So in that way the Japanese government was adamant to have its own only assistant role in that context, but we see that how the declaration took place, and Suhas reached Tokyo on 13th of June 1943, and he met General Tojo and got the assurance to support Indian independence, and he was being declared the president of the Indian Independent League, and also the provisional government was to be declared, and in that context the declaration of Azad Hind Fauj and Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose gave the call, clarion call of Chalo Delhi, go to Delhi, and in that context it was a very important decision which was being made, and we see that how this whole event, the provisional government of India in Singapore, which was started on 21st of October 1943, and its recognition was also been given by Axis power. This Axis power, they were very much 8 countries have given recognition to the provisional government of India in Singapore, and later on in Rangoon also. So in this way we also see that how that whole movement was taking place, and how it was at that time beyond imagination of anyone that a person, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, can only do such kind of miraculous job, that he not only persuaded the Japanese government to have joining the hands with the Indian cause, but he also take this whole event in such a situation that we see that the army expedition which was taking place, in that context the Japanese government shows its friendship gesture, and when it captured Andaman and Nicobar, these 2 islands were being handed over to Indian National Army, and in that context we see that how the Indian National Army reached the Indian lands, and how its own aspirations, its own motivation has met the reality, and in that context this was a very, very challenging thing which is going to happen, that how they are going to have the other parts in other parts how they are going to penetrate and how they are going to have their own say and to establish and to free and liberate India from the clutches of the Britishers. So in that way it was we see that these two islands, Andaman and Nicobar, were renamed by Subhash Chandra Bose as Shahid and Swaraj Islands, and it was to show the mood that how they are very much confident that they are going to make the Britishers escape from the Indian land. And in that way we see that the Indian National Army, which was being organized in such a way that it is going to have its say from two fronts. One was the Kohima front and the other was from the Imphal border. So in that way we see that the responsibility which was given in Kohima region, they were reaching the lands and they were trying to have further extension of their movement. And in between we also find that in Imphal expedition, the Indian National Army under the leadership of Shah Nawaz, he tried to have his own prestige. He wanted to have a role which is prestigious to them, but in that context the menial job which is being given by the Japanese and the kind of treatment which was not up to the mark that was being met by the Indian National Army soldiers, and they were also facing too much of crisis of resources, and in that context the Imphal expedition was not successful. And in that way we also see that how this whole episode has turned out into a fiasco and failure. So in that way the bad monsoon, the tough and treacherous topography of that region, and also the retreating of the Japanese army, because the Japanese army by that time have to also open, or it was also facing odds in Pacific region. So in that way the focus on Southeast Asia and particularly the expedition which was being launched in assistance with the Indian National Army, this was not at all given that much of focus and it was overlooked. And in that context we see that how this whole episode has turned into a fiasco. And while we also see that by May 1945 the British Army has taken the course and they have captured Rangoon. So in that way this whole period which is being utilized by the Indian National Army to have its freehold in Indian region, that has not come true. And we also feel that by that time in August 1945, with the dropping of atom bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, this was a completely devastation of the Japanese morale, and by that time they have also surrendered, and in that way this was a great challenge before the Indian National Army people. And in between, one of the incident which was very unfortunate, and that Subhash Bose, who was trying to have all these operations and he was leading all this and he was trying to have all kind of support for the Indian independence from other nations and Axis power. So in that context his unfortunate demise, that in the one of the air crash which has happened on 18th of August 1945. So in that way this was very unfortunate incident, and that has he was moving from Formosa Islands, Taiwan, and his aeroplane was crashed. But there is still too many debate regarding this, and this is one of the facts which is very controversial in that regard, and that whether he died in the air crash or not. And still there are so many declassified papers which have been now been declassified by the present government, and they are in that light we can have another kind of knowledge, another kind of information regarding the survival or whether he died. In that context there could be a new kind of information which will be provided through such kind of interpretation of the declassified documents by the central government and by the government of West Bengal. So, in that way, that is another issue that is there, but and we see that how the some of the declassified documents show that espionage was taking place, and Nehru and his government was also having collecting information and having a visual upon the family members of Subhash Chandra Bose. So, there may be some kind of thing which was going on, but what is that? That is still not being there. So, that is there, but one thing is there, that with through all this kind of activity, through taking such kind of arduous tasks and showing the kind of heroism and the kind of guts he has gone through, Subhash Chandra Bose has really got the title Netaji in that context. We see that the kind of the once we see the although it has failed in its attempt to free India, but the kind of attempt which have been made, with that shows that the armed resistance by the Indian army and the participation of the Indian soldiers and the training which has been taken place, rigorous training which has happened, and the kind of formation of the army and the kind of early incident which shows that the kind of valor, the kind of courage they have shown, extraordinary courage which they have shown, and they have promoted the cause of nationalism in that way. Once we see in this failed attempt also that how it was a very progressive kind of movement, like in that context we see that the Indian National Army has a women's wing which was called as Rani Lakshmi, Rani Jhansi Regiment under Lakshmi Swaminathan, and she was also being given, the women were also being given equal footage in that context, and how it is a very relevant thing at that time that the gender bias was not there. And even in context of army, and it is also been seen that the women participation in the army at that stage was really a remarkable stage which had been taken by the Indian National Army and under the leadership of Subhash Chandra Bose. And also one of the other things, that the concept of the Indian unity, that we have diversity, we have different people of different faith, but the people of all the faiths have were participating, whether it is whether it is Hindus, whether it is Muslims, whether it is the Sikhs, all were participating in this Indian National Army. So, in that context, the kind of secularism that has been shown, that is showing that how this Indian National Army movement was a unique one in its own time, and also it worked as a pressure group upon the British government that they have to take into cognizance that how the Indian people are aspiring for freedom and they have to give it. And also it has led to high morals of the Indian people in that context, and this has also made it possible that now it is the British government in India is not going to survive, or it is just counting its days, last days in that way. And we also see not only with this entire expedition, but in context of the other things, the trials which have been taking place of the soldiers of INA after the defeat, that is also one of the things that shows the what kind of public memory, what kind of participation, what kind of public opinion was being formed regarding the soldiers of Indian National Army. They could not be treated as persons who have they could not be blamed for treason, at least, because they were sacrificing for the cause of their nation. So, in that way the people have shown their participation, and they have pressurized the government, and the situation was such that it was on the edge of a volcano. So, in that way that kind of movement has been generated while the trial of the INA soldiers were taking place in India. And in the very first trial, that is in Red Fort at Delhi in November 1945, we see that Prem Sehgal, G.S. Dhillon and Shahnawaz, who were being as the hero of this whole movement in the very first trial, the people have shown too much of participation, and they were completely in favor of all this, that they should be freed and they should not be tried in this way. And the Red Fort was actually been taken as a stage to show the Indian people that how these people could be, if they are daring to go against the wishes of the British government, then how they are going to be very brutal in that sense. But it has boomeranged in that sense. The Indian people have shown their courage, and they have not only opposed all that, but they have also that all the parties, Congress or Muslim League or Hindu Mahasabha, each and every political party have shown its support to the Indian the cause of the prisoners of Indian National Army. And in that way, by September 1945, in Bombay session of the Congress, this was also being officially being recognized that we are going to support the prisoners of Indian National Army, and for the defense we see that the prominent leaders of that time, Bhulabhai Desai, under the leadership of Bhulabhai Desai, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and then also Kadju and Jinnah, all have participated, and they have gone for the defense of the prisoners of Indian National Army. And there was also another kind of movement which was going on. The people were working for the relief, and they were also trying to have fund collection, and also they were going for relief work for the Indian National Army soldiers in that context. And we also see that how the whole agitation, INA agitation, which was taking place, was for the purpose of the release of the Indian INA prisoners, and there was wide publicity of that and extensive coverage in the press. And we can imagine this whole episode in that context, that entire week was declared as INA week, that is from November 5 to November 11. And also in that context, we also see that INA Day was also celebrated on November 12, 1945. And this was the kind of movement, agitation, in which we see that in extensive geographical spread was there, and wider participation of public from each and every section, whether it was students, whether it was whether it was the political people, or whether it is the each and every section of the poor, or from the merchants and traders, all were supporting the cause of the Indian National Army soldiers, and also of peasants, artisans, everyone was in favor of all that. The left parties, and also the groups, different groups were supporting it, and fundraising, meeting, bandh and boycott were being organized in such a way that the entire government work was not in a position to cover it up. And by the three upsurges are taken place from November 21, 1945. We see in Calcutta INA trials has happened, and February 11, 1946, 7-year sentence of Rashid Ali in Calcutta was highly opposed. And when we see that Royal Indian Navy ratings, which has happened in February 18, 1946. So in that way, this whole episode has shown that how the student procession has taken place, the League people, the Congress people, all have shown their unity, and they have as a symbol of unity they have worked. And also the police lathi charge and restored to firing. In spite of all that, this whole movement could not be restricted, and people have shown their sacrifice in that way. And with this all the three upsurges, it was now completely beyond the capacity of the Britishers to have a hold in Indian in context of the Indian situation, and it has completely shown that the days of the Britishers in Indian context is now counted, and this movement has now generated such kind of situation, in which later on we find that how the whole INA trials which has taken place, and the INA the Rins mutiny which has happened in context of HIMS Talwar, all that shows that the movement has got too much of tremendous support from the public, and fearless action by the masses has taken place, and revolt in armed forces and its liberating effect is showing that how the faith in the British system has completely been lacking, and how the erosion has happened. And in that context we see that British government also tried to have concessions, and that the INA members who are accused of murder or brutal acts only will be brought to trial and other will be left, and in that way the first batch was which was being sentenced in that regard was also being taken back by the British government, and all the heroes of Indian National Army like Shahnawaz, Dhillon and Prem Sehgal, they all were scot free from that, and this shows that how this whole event has turned into public memory as a event which shows and a whole episode which shows that in spite of a single person's courage, despite the odd situation which was prevailing, and Netaji Subhash Bose has shown exemplary courage, a piece of exemplary courage, and how he has managed the whole episode in that way that he was a person who was negotiating with the Axis powers, with Germany, with Japan, and working outside India. In that way, it is beyond the limitations of any person that a person of a country which is under the slavery of British government, and such a person is daring in such a way and showing their path, and in that way he is also showing that how the liberation could happen, and he is working for that, in that he is showing that through the blood of people I could make possible that the Indian independence could take place. So in that way we see that whole significance of INA movement and the kind of arrangement which have been shown by Subhash Chandra Bose, that shows his visionary attempt that alternative courses for Indian independence has also been is also being possible, and how it could be. It is playing a role of inspiration for each and every generation to come, and how it has a place in the history of India. So in this session we are going to discuss about the left-wing movement in the pre-independence era and its contribution to the Indian independence, and how it has been shaped in that sense. In that context, we see that what is the very background of this left-wing movement in Indian context. We are seeing that the factory acts are coming, industrialization is taking place to a little extent, enclave economy is being developed in the colonial Indian context. And in that context, we see that this working class movement is also taking place, and unions are also being formed. So this is one of the things which has led to the left movement in Indian context. On the other hand, we also see that how the one of the important events, a very remarkable event in world history that is taking place, the Russian Revolution of 1917, which is a landmark in that context, and this is on the basis of that, this is the inspirational point from where the not only in India but in world context also the inspiration is being taken by the left wing movement people. So in that context, we see this whole thing is happening. On the other hand, we also see that how at that time by 1920, we see by 1922 the non-cooperation movement which was being launched by Gandhiji, and the withdrawal of non-cooperation movement in February 1922 due to some violent act in Chaura-Chauri context. Then we see that in that context, that withdrawal has led to too much of chaos, that has led to the disillusionment in the youths particularly, and other groups also, but youths were very much disillusioned by this, and in that way we see that the left wing become one of the options for them. And in that way also we also see with the formation of All India Trade Union Congress in 1920, and the very first president of it, Lala Lajpat Rai, he on his auspices, he has tried to see that how this trade union movement could be trying for the welfare of the workers. So in that way, this is the background in which we see that whole left-wing movement is taking place in Indian context, and also the individual effort of M.N. Roy, and how he has also trying to organize the Communist Party of India in Tashkent in 1920, in October 1920. And in that way, this is one of the things, and how his participation in the Comintern and the Lenin-Roy debate which has taken place in that context, the role of the left-wing movement in context of the colonial territory in context, that has been debated, and in that way M.N. Roy was completely opposed to the view of Lenin, that Lenin has shown that we can work with the Indian national, with the people who are there, who are working, and the kind of the bourgeois movement which is there, and that is the mainstream through which the whole Indian independence movement is taking place. But M.N. Roy completely negated this thing, that we could not take the help of the bourgeois party, and we could not be part of that. We should have to take an independent step in that context, and in that way we see that how this whole episode has taken up, and how various communist parties has been formed from 1921 to 1925 in that context also. But in between, one of the events which has taken place, the Kanpur conspiracy case, this has really turned that is one of the events which shows that how brutal the British government was in that context. They were completely against any kind of left movement which could try to have opposition to the British government in that sense. So in that way, that was very much been criticized, although, but the main leader of the left wing movement, the communist leaders, were being arrested, whether it is a Sedange or whether it is the others, who all were being imprisoned. And by that time in 1925 BC, in December 1925, that All India Conference of the Communists had been held at Kanpur under the leadership of Satyabhakta, and in that way that has been very showing that how in Indian context this Communist Party of India was being formed. So that is the very background of all this event. But what was the objective of being formation of this Communist Party of India in 1925? So in that context, when we try to see that they were the first party to discuss and to openly put it in their objective that they are going to have complete independence agenda from the British rule. So in that way, that was a very different and unique stand which has been taken by the Communist Party of India. And also they were also trying to have establishment of the political system that is going to be based upon the Russian, especially and the USSR model. So in that way, this was also another objective, that the dictatorship of the proletariat class, that this class struggle question, that was also been given that much of importance by them. And so that was also one of the important agenda and objective of the Communist Party of India. And they have also gone through the causes of the people, like the land to the tillers, means the abolition of jamindaris was also one of the important agenda of the Communist Party of India. The adult suffrage that is given to each and every individual, adult individual, and also the right to strike, to right to meeting, and right to have demonstration. This all rights were being not there. The individual rights which is to be assured to each and every citizen was not at all being given. So in that way, and also the equality of women, that is also not at all being taken up. So in that way, Communist Party of India have a very progressive agenda at that time, and they were also in favor of social justice to the untouchables. So in that way, when we see that whole Communist Party of India has a very progressive objective, and for that very purpose, what was the program that has been taken in that course? So by that time, we see that they were trying to have alliance with the Indian National Congress. They were forging their link with it, because at that time they were trying to work closely with Congress and to give it such kind of impetus. This whole movement could be becoming so stronger with the help of the communists that it could be in a position to completely challenge the authority of the Britishers. In that way, they were trying to work. On the other hand, they were also trying to organize the workers and peasants, because they were also very significant for the purpose of awareness, for the purpose of their participation in the coming movements. So in that way, they were organizing the peasants and workers, and also setting up number of organizations in different parts, like Labour Swaraj Party in Bengal, like Congress Labour Party in Bombay, Kriti Kishan Party in Punjab, and also Labour Kisan Party of Hindustan in Madras. So this all parties were being formed in that context, and that was to, in different region, how we see the communist influence and organization is being working, and how it is trying to put up their agenda in that context. And also the formation of the Workers and Peasant Party in 1928 was one of the important development in that context. And also we see that whole political party, and it has become the front organization of the Communist Party of India, and All India Conference, All India Workers and Peasants Party Conference in Calcutta was held in 1928, and in that we see that the through that All India Workers and Peasant Party was being formed, and this was affiliated and they were trying to have a kind of link with the League Against Imperialism, which has been there, but it was still postponed by that time. And then we see that the Workers and Peasant Party, which has been formed and which has doing very excellent job, like the Girni Kamgar Union and all, they were having strikes and they were very successful in that context, and this unified front was giving a kind of impetus to their movement. But by that time we see that the Communist International, 6th International Comintern, we see that there was a declaration to break the links with WPPs, Workers and Peasant Parties. Why this has happened? Because they were being seen as multi-class organizations, and in that context, once they are being multi-class organizations, so in that way there are different sections of society which were being participated, and in that way this was not being encouraged by the 6th Comintern, and in that way we see that this Workers and Peasants party has been now not being active in that sense, and so by that time the British government was also having its own course, because the left wing movement was becoming very vital, and they have too much of a strikes in different whether it is in Bombay or whether it is in Karachi or whether it is in context of Calcutta, whether it is in context of Madras, Kanpur or Jamshedpur. All these prominent cities we see that the working class movement is taking place, and too much of a strikes were being there, and also they were working against the wishes of the Britishers, and they were also trying to destabilize, as the British government has tried to blame them that they are trying to destabilize them. So in that way we also see that how this whole event has taken place, that the Meerut conspiracy case was launched in that context by the British government, and 32 prominent communist leaders have been arrested, and in that context the Communist Party of Great Britain and its 3 prominent members, it is the Philip Spratt, Biden Bradell, and then Hutchinson's. These 3 members who were from the Communist Party of Great Britain, they were also being arrested in this Meerut conspiracy case, and how this has been a great setback to the Marxist movement in Indian context. And although this was a great setback, but it has also led to the popularity of the Marxian ideas in Indian context also, because people now become aware of the kind of movement which was going on, and how this Marxian ideology has a role to play in context of the Indian independence. So that was there. On the other hand, we also see that the another kind of development which is taking place, which shows the vacillating position of the Communist Party of India, that they were not at all taking any independent step of their own. They were being dictated by the Communist International, and in that context by 1929 the decision that to dub all the bourgeois led national movement as agent of imperialism, which shows that how the Communist Party of India is not taking its own decision. They are not at all given any kind of weightage in that context. The Indian situation was completely different, but it was completely being denied, and the Indian national movement was completely being labeled as a bourgeois movement, and so in that context to have keep a distance from that and don't have any kind of links with that, and in that way we see that by 1929 CPI has denounced Congress as a bourgeois party, and there was by that time we see that the British government has apprehensions about the Communist Party of India, and so a ban was being put upon the Communist Party of India, and by that time we also see, because of this bourgeois kind of tag that is being given to the Congress, we see while the Gandhi-Irwin Pact was being taken as a ditch to the Indian aspiration by the communist people, and also in the civil disobedience movement of 1930. We also see that there was no participation from the Communist Party of India, and they have completely critical to it. And in that context, we also see that by that time they were also dwindling their position. They were not in a position to have a kind of another kind of revigoration of their whole organization. So in that context, because the blanket ban was there, so in that context we see that the rising wave of communism has led to another kind of experiment in Indian context, that we are seeing that the formation of the Congress Socialist Party in 1934 under the leadership of Jayaprakash Narayan, Acharya Narendra Dev, Minu Masani, Ram Manohar Lohia. This is also taking place, and they are working within the framework of Congress, and they are trying to make it much more radical and trying to have because with the parting out of civil disobedience movement, there was a disillusionment in the Indian people, and so the youths particularly have gone for the formation of the Congress Socialist Party. And in that way we also see that they were very much convinced that the Indian independence and socialism both were their objectives, and they also see that the political freedom is one of the agenda, but with that the socio-economic liberation is also very important. And in that context we also see that by that time we also with the Dutt-Bradley thesis which is coming into existence, and with that there is a change in the position of the communists, that the now the Communist International, the Comintern, has now declared that there is a policy of united front that is to be adopted, that is to be implemented in context of India. And in that context now the Congress has not been as a bourgeois party. We have to work with it, and we have to make it much more stronger in that sense. And so in that way we also see that how the Congress Socialist Party was one of the parties, and with the left people, the communist people were working, and they were trying to transform Congress as a thoroughly anti-imperialistic organization, and also help them in context of the trade union movement which was going on. Like they were also in favor of making All India Trade Union Congress and All India Kisan Sabha very important activity and movement. And so in that context the communists were working within these organizations and making it much more vibrant in that way. And this united front agenda and platform was also being utilized to have a strong foothold in context of the organizational structure of the Congress Socialist Party. And this was another kind of thing that they were also trying to even take over the Congress Socialist Party lock, stock and barrel, means it completely, they wanted to have a complete takeover of this Congress Socialist Party. But due to this kind of intention and this kind of planning, it was being exposed, and so the Congress Socialist Party has finally come to the conclusion that they should be expelled. And in that context we see that how this whole thing has not worked out. And while this whole thing was taking place, we also see that the Second World War, which is becoming a reality in 1939, and by that time we also see before the Second World War there was a pact that has happened between Hitler and Stalin in August 1939. So in that context the CPI formulated a policy of politrate path, and that means that open rebellion against the British rule. They were not at all in favor of any kind of support to the war effort, and in that way they were also organizing big strikes in Bombay textile mills, and other areas also, and trying to distract and trying to disturb the British government and its position to be becoming vulnerable in that context. But in June 1941, Hitler invaded USSR, and that is also where we see that how this episode had led to the joining of USSR in the side of the Allied powers. So by that time we also see that USSR and China joined the Second World War, and they have been in the camp of the Allied powers. So in that way we also see the ban on CPI was being lifted, and also the stand has completely been changed in that way. That how it is very astonishing that the imperialist war has become a people's war for them. So in that way that kind of vacillating stand has been taken up, and how the that was being also used for the purpose of membership drive and also for regional expansion of the Communist Party. Although at that time the in Indian context that we see that what kind of situation was there, and how the national movement and the people, they were organizing Quit India movement in Indian context in 1942 under the leadership of Gandhiji, and how there was a situation in which we see that there was complete chaos, and the British government has no option but to look into it in a say it was in a very repressive mood, and it has used too much of repression for that very purpose. But the communist people were forging link with the Britishers, and they were not at all cooperating with the Indian national movement in that way, and that has been a big blot in context of the communist movement in context of India. And also this kind of vacillating stand after the Second World War, we also see that how they have changed their stance again, that once the INA trial was taking place, and now with other parties they have also joined the nationwide agitation against the trial of the Indian National Army people, and in that way how it has completely lagged its stand which it was taking earlier. And this whole thing shows that the kind of gain which has been done by the communists in context of supporting the British government has not worked in their favor, and how they were launching the peasant movement in context of North Bengal and Telangana, and Tevaga movement was being there in North Bengal, and they were also in context of Travancore, they were very much active, and due to their presence that we see that integration of Travancore in Indian Union has happened, and this is one of the contributions, and in that way a social base in Telangana that has been developed by them. And in that way we see that although number of infirmities were there were so many limitations, and there was ideological confusion through which the communist movement in India was going. And we also see that the Communist Party of India have no independent stance of its own. It was only working with the on the diktats of the Communist Party of Soviet Union. So in that way it is being not good that the decisions which is being taken in that the Indian scenario was not at all taken into consideration. And in that way we also see that how they were not at all taking any kind of real evaluation of the Indian national movement. They were time and again misleading, they were time and again taking wrong decisions, and they were not at all convinced of the leadership of Gandhiji. So in that way the Indian national movement, which was a most vibrant current in context of Indian independence, that has been ignored. In that way how come the communists could be a relevant force in context of India? So and there was too much of disunity, too much of their presence in context of different parts of India, and the participation and membership of the people was also very limited. So in that way these were the weaknesses through which they were going on. Despite all that, they worked for the peasants, workers, youths and the students, and also in that context we see that their role has been very progressive in that sense, that some of the issues which were not at all being taken up, like in when the Communist Party was being formed in 1925, at that time they were talking of the complete independence, which was being taken up in 1929 by Congress. And on the other hand, we also see the Jamindari abolition, which has taken place later on, which has been one of the agenda which has been right from the beginning, from the formation of the Communist Party of India, it has been taken up by it. And in that way, the kind of exploitation which was taking place, that has been given a place, and still the cause of the peasants and the cause of the workers has very much relevance in that way, and we can see that how the communist movement is still relevant in Indian context, and that's the way we can show the significance of the communist movement, left-wing movement in Indian context. Thank you.
On that note, I would like to thank sir for this very enriching discussion, and thank you dear friends for watching our show. Stay tuned and keep watching. Thank you.